Well, I think it's a logical step up the escalation ladder. Obviously, the combined economic, diplomatic, and military campaign trying to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon and those long-range missiles that we just talked about is not working.
Now, Iran has threatened to target RAF Fairford after Andy Burnham continued the UK policy of allowing the base to be used by the United States for strikes against the Islamic Republic. It comes as tensions across the Middle East intensify, with oil prices surging back above $100 even a barrel for the first time in 2 months. That's as the markets react to growing instability in the region. The rise follows Houthi attacks on oil tankers in the Red Sea, threatening a vital shipping route for Saudi crude exports. Meanwhile, Donald Trump says Saudi Arabia's civilian nuclear program will only be permitted if Riyadh joins the Abraham Accords and therefore recognises Israel, while also warning Iran it'll be held responsible for any future Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping even. That's a mouthful, isn't it? General Mark Kimmitt is the former Brigadier General and former Assistant Secretary of State. General Mark Kimmitt, a warm welcome to you. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Just your words, first of all, on Iran threatening to attack RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire. As has been happening throughout this war, that UK airbase has been used for defensive strikes by the US. But Iran today made veiled threats towards the British monarchy regime and said any base used for aggression against Iranian territory is a legitimate target for us. And they went on to mention RAF Fairford. I think most Brits will be a little concerned about that today. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it's a clear proof that the Iranians don't live up to their obligations. They have a 2,000-kilometer self-imposed limit on the range of their ballistic missiles, and there are numerous UN resolutions talking about their capability to put nuclear weapons on intercontinental ballistic missiles. Nobody's suggesting that they would put those nuclear weapons that we suspect they have onto a missile, but it just simply says, don't believe what we say, believe what we do. And there's a clear indication that in the negotiations, we ought to tread lightly as the Iranians make commitments and promises.
OK, all right. Well, look, we'll keep an eye on that one. Donald Trump this evening saying he is close to a decision on the largest yet attack on Iran. He says he's deciding whether to launch a massive attack against Iran on a scale larger than strikes already witnessed during the months-long conflict with Tehran. Is this Donald Trump being Donald Trump, always going to the max? Or do we need to seriously consider that the US president will outdo any attack so far on Iran for the entirety of this war so far?
Well, I think it's a logical step up the escalation ladder. Obviously, the combined economic, diplomatic, and military campaign trying to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon and those long-range missiles that we just talked about is not working. So nobody else at this point seems to have any better ideas. The intermediaries, Qatar and Pakistan, don't seem to be holding back the Iranians. The commitments made by the Iranians on the original MOU, they violated quickly with a resumption of the attacks against ships inside the Hormuz Strait. So I think it actually is one of those options that President Trump would be considering.
Yeah, I mean, we heard Marco Rubio talk overnight, and he talked about how Iran would say an eye for an eye, and he said we would say an eye for a head. There's no doubt things are ramping up. In fact, we have the clip of Marco Rubio. Let's just hear from the US Secretary of State.
The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price for the things they're doing. They're already paying a very heavy price. You guys don't know it because you don't cover it. You're not in Iran. You're not in the street. They don't have a free media. But they're going to continue to pay a very heavy price. Iran is...
Why would Iran take this seriously, I suppose, General Mark Kimmitt, when we've heard this sort of thing from Donald Trump and his administration before, and Iran seemingly are not paying any attention?
Well, that's why they should take it seriously because, as I said earlier, the president is considering climbing the escalation ladder. Up to this point, a small bombing campaign has not been working. Uh, Taking out their Navy, taking out their Air Force, taking out most of their speedboat capability is not working. So the question one has to ask is, what is it going to take to change the behavior of the regime so that it will sit down and negotiate on their nuclear program and their missile program, something that's not only in the interest of the United States, but frankly, even more so in the interest of Europe and the region.
And what do you make of Donald Trump announcing that civilian nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia yesterday, and then saying today it does come with the condition that Saudi sign up to the Abraham Accords, which would see them recognising Israel, basically, which is something that's always been a red line for them before. I think some people are puzzled as to why we're only hearing about this after the deal. I'm not sure how Saudi feels about it, but they may be a little taken aback as well. What do you think?
Oh, I don't think they're taken aback at all. The fact remains that for years and years, particularly in the first Trump administration and during the Biden administration, there had been calls in the region to sign up to the Abraham Accords. Look, I think if nothing else, Saudi Arabia understands the threat, the increased threat that Iran poses. They have said, we want the civilian nuclear program, just like the United Arab Emirates. And candidly, we're prepared to turn that into a militarized nuclear program if Iran develops a nuclear weapon. And that really, to me, is one of the main reasons that we are fighting Iran and would invite our allies to help, which is not just the issue of Iran having a nuclear weapon, but one can only imagine the threat not only to U.S. security, but regional and, for that matter, European and UK security if we had an outbreak of non-proliferation violations.
Yes.
I don't think we would rest easily at night if Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, perhaps Turkey, perhaps others acquired nuclear weapons because the world allowed and would not take action except for the United States.
Yeah. Do you think Saudi are going to sign this deal then with this new condition in place?
I think Saudi Arabia has heard about these issues before for many, many years. It took careful and slow and methodical diplomacy to get many of the countries to sign up for the Abraham Accords. There doesn't seem to be as much sympathy for the Palestinian street as there was in the past. So if the United States is going to provide technical capabilities like nuclear architecture, I think there ought to be a cost to that.
Okay.
And candidly, I think the United States ought to do it because if Saudi Arabia has that long-term aspiration, we want it to go to a country like the United States that'll put safeguards on it where others may not.
All right. Well, look, thank you for being with us. Appreciate your view on this. General Mark Kimmitt, former Brigadier General and former Assistant Secretary of State. Great to speak to you. Thank you.